3 new shops are coming to downtown Disney, and I think it's starting to make downtown Disney feel a lot more like Main Street USA, but maybe not in the way that you wanted to. I believe something bigger is at play here, and as always on this channel, if we look back at Disneyland's past, we can better predict its future. Bricky here, back in the studio, and let me tell you why. It's over 100 degrees today at Disneyland. There's also a marathon going on, so Disneyland doesn't need me in there trying to also make content. And I'm working on a Villains Land breakdown that I think that you're gonna love. It's like no other one that you've seen on YouTube. I have taken this concept art, broken it down in such a detailed way. There's a lot more in there than anybody else has been able to find. And I thought, this video will be so much better with 2 extra days of production time, so let's rip the studio. And I love that these videos are like community conversations, right? We're having a conversation together. Your comments below, like the studio video I put up on Tuesday, really help me shape and direct bigger videos that I film in the park or future documentaries that you'll see here on Hey Bricky. All right, let's get into talking about downtown Disney, some new changes, and what I think, my theory, of what we're looking at and how this is going to change downtown Disney. And it's a change that we've seen before at the Disneyland Resort and Disney parks all around the world. Let's go back into Disneyland's past so we can better predict the present. When Disneyland opened up in 1955, one of the things that the retail shops on Main Street created was an opportunity for more revenue. And Disney spent a lot of time trying to get tenants to move in to Walt's theme park. The idea was, we'll take care of the food, we'll take care of the concessions, we'll take care of the attractions, we'll take care of the entertainment. But if we can get some merchants to fill up some of our buildings, we can take that space inside of Disneyland and rent it out. Therefore, not having to worry about producing a ton of merchandise, not worrying about staffing the stores, just getting guaranteed money, utility money, if you will, from various locations all around Walt's park. They were curated by people that had put their own family's money into running these stores. So what happens when you put up your own money? You work extra hard to make sure you make a profit. So there's families, small businesses inside of Disneyland in its opening years trying to bring customers the best experience possible. It was a curation for us, the customer. Well, not us because we weren't there then, but you know what I'm saying. And in my Disneyland Oddities series, I talked all about a key shop, Yale Key, that was on Main Street and how they created a whole exhibit for customers to come into. And then my favorite opening day merchant, and this is what I wish there was more of, Pendleton had a shop over in Frontierland. And Pendleton is a great heritage brand. They make fantastic items. Love Pendleton blankets, love Pendleton socks. Like absolutely one of my favorite places to go whenever I visit Lake Arrowhead. And Pendleton also happened to be Lillian's favorite place to shop and Walt's as well. Walt would wear suits and sweaters that were made by Pendleton. And if you bought Pendleton merchandise inside of Disneyland, it even came with a Pendleton tag inside of the collar that had the castle on it, showing that this was a Pendleton exclusive that you bought inside of Disneyland. And Pendleton went even further than that in placing very, very cool ads using Disneyland, Walt's Magic Kingdom as the backdrop for these ads. So there was a golden age of Main Street and Disneyland actually feeling like a real little city, putting even more theme into Walt's theme park. But as Disney evolved, they started to realize, hey, I think we can make a lot more money selling our own items, where Disney would have the opportunity with high volumes and high margins. Because don't forget, shopping inside of a Disney park is basically like putting your store someplace where it's Christmas Eve 365 days out of the year. So slowly, Disney started converting space that they were only getting rent money off of to places where they were running their own retail operations. And they quickly learned the more products we produce, the cheaper the products get, the higher our profit margins are. And we're making way more money per square foot than just taking that guaranteed money from one of our tenants. Disney realized you can't make more space to rent more locations, but you can make more products, which also creates a downline synergy of making people fall more in love with Disneyland, but also with all of Walt Disney Studios' many intellectual properties. And real quick, before we get to the updates in downtown Disney, just think about this for a minute. In 1971, When Walt Disney World would open up in Orlando, it opened up without one banknote hanging over it. Disney was able to build the Magic Kingdom and Walt Disney World without borrowing a single dollar. That had a lot to do with how profitable Disneyland had become. Hey friends, now is a great time to make sure you subscribe to Hey Bricky, allowing me to keep showing up 3 times a week, creating studio videos, in-park videos where I break down the design of Disneyland like nobody else can, and my favorite, my documentaries where I pour myself into telling the story of Disney. And as we're doing today, I love looking at the past of Disney so we can better predict its future, and I would love for you to do all this time traveling with me by subscribing to Hey Bricky. Thank you so much for showing up. I cannot wait to meet you in the comments below, or hopefully soon in the park. Now back to today's news. So that's our looking at the past, but let's look at the not too far away past, somewhere around our present in this timeline, where Downtown Disney arrives and Disneyland becomes the Disneyland Resort with the addition of Downtown Disney, 2 more hotels, as well as Disney's California Adventure. So with putting an extra part into the park, Downtown Disney, Disney realized that, hey, it'd be nice to have extra revenue in our Downtown Disney development. And the way that it works, if you're a merchant inside of Downtown Disney, you pay a very steep rent price. And you also, most importantly, you give Disney a percentage of your sales. Now, why is Disney entitled to a percentage of sale? Because if you rent in any other place on any other Main Street USA, you only pay rent if you don't own the property outright. Well, think about it. By having your shop inside of Downtown Disney, once again, you're given the ability where every day of the year feels like it's the holiday season. An unlimited amount of customers, a nonstop foot traffic going right past your front door. And the price for this is you give up a percentage of sale on top of that high rent. But what this has created is curation for the customer. So therefore, Downtown Disney has lots of stores in there selling lots of different items. And if you're staying at a hotel and you have that day to kill, or you get there early and you don't have a theme park ticket, Downtown Disney can feed you. It can, well, used to be able to entertain you, and you could also shop, because lots of times you miss things. Like one of the things I've bought in Downtown Disney was a belt, because I didn't put on a belt. And when I got to the park, I'm like, something's not right. Oh, I didn't put on a belt this morning. But luckily, I could buy one in Downtown Disney. And luckily for me, it didn't have any characters on it. Just a black basic bitch belt is all this boy needed that day. So at this time of Downtown Disney, it's an added experience for visitors, and it's also a draw for locals. There's been many of times that I've had people in from out of town. They don't want to go to Disneyland, but they do want to go to Salt and Straw. And for a while, that was the only location in Orange County. So I have ripped lots of Salt and Straw with friends who are just like, Disney's pretty crazy. I have no intentions of going. Now, if you remember, towards the end of the pandemic, Disney announced that they would be redesigning the far western end of the Downtown Disney district. And they were a little bit vague about what was going to happen there, but it seemed like their idea was to go for more high-end dining, and it seemed like they were trying to attract a more affluent guest, which has kind of been the goal for a while now, with the extremely expensive hotel prices, the ticket prices for both parks, $35 to park your car. Like, Disney is definitely always testing what's that top tier that we can charge people. Where is the pushback? And it doesn't seem like the pushback ever seems to happen. Although there are some that speculate that the pushback on the high-end costs may be somewhere close to where they're at right now, because people have been projecting that there's a drop off in attendance. The park's not as full as what it used to be. And you do see Disney quite often now rolling out value tickets to try to buffer up what they're missing on their high-end costs with value tickets from local residents. But with all of this redesigning of the far west end of Downtown Disney, it was always kind of vague of what was showing up. We did get an announcement on some restaurants. Restaurants, they tend to always do with restaurant groups. And so that's kind of something that they pass off to somebody else, and pretty much a smart play. Food is a very competitive and hard space to make money in. So just let the pros handle it, but just be picky on how you curate the type of restaurants you want to serve your customers. And also, more importantly, the type of customers that you're going after. Not a lot of affordable, quick grab and go options in downtown Disney. They're trying to make it way more of a get a reservation ahead of time, sit down and dine atmosphere, which probably means that they're trying to get people in to spend more time, more money, more affluent customers, like I mentioned earlier, and keeping the grab and go for inside the park. But this is where it all gets fascinating. And the reason why we're getting here now in the video is I always think that it's important to lay down sort of a groundwork of what I'm talking about so you can understand my theory and go, oh yeah, he's making a couple of good points here. Disney recently revealed 4 retail spaces that are going to go in this far West End development. And friends, 75%, 3 out of 4 of these are going to be owned and ran by Disney. And my question to you is this: are we seeing the Main Street USA conversion happening all over again? Where initially downtown Disney merchants were there to add curation for the customer and throw some rent and percentage of sale over to Disney. But as Disney now started to go, you know what? Downtown Disney is a lot more profitable if we run everything ourselves. So they announced there's going to be an Avengers Reserve showing up. Now, I'm not going to get too overly excited about this because I remember Avengers Walmart that showed up around the post-pandemic time that was in the Hollywood Studios backlot. It was something you would go in, look around. I mean, to their credit, they did bring kind of an extra level of merchandise in there. I mean, you could buy like an $8,000 Iron Man costume if you needed one, but they also had high-end collectibles. I don't know if it was Hot Toys or Sideshow, but they had some very high-end figurines in there that for most people just ended up being a display because I don't think a lot of people are buying those. But I also believe some of that type of merchandise still exists in the exit to the gift shop over at Guardians. And I look at this as being sort of an equivalent to the Star Wars trading post, just kind of on the other side, that's taking up only the front 20% of the Rainforest Cafe building, which has a way higher potential than just having a little Star Wars pop-up in the front end. But the thing is about these stores is Disney's in an interesting spot. How much do you put in downtown Disney and how much merchandise do you save to put behind the paywall? Basically, for hardcore collectors, you need to inspire them to buy a ticket or a magic key so they feel like they have constant access to merchandise that they can only exclusively get inside of a Disney park. So putting an Avengers Walmart or a Star Wars bodega on the outside of downtown Disney, yeah, I mean, I'm sure it scratches the itch for some folks, but I feel like hardcore customers know you can only trust these locations to have a certain pedigree of merchandise, because wouldn't it make sense that the top tier merchandise would be placed inside the paywall of DCA for the Avengers or over at Disneyland for Star Wars? Another shop that they announced that I'm most curious about is D-Lander. How will D-Lander be different? How will it cater to a Disneyland audience, which is, I'm assuming, what this means? Like, how will this merchandise be different than anything that we could find inside of the Emporium or over at World of Disney, which is a Disney superstore? Like, it basically has everything you need except for a couple of specialty items that you would find in certain stores around the resort. Disney really has to come up with some merchandise here that makes D-Lander feel much different than all the other shops, because part of what I don't like about shopping inside of the theme parks is it's basically the same stuff. Yeah, you know, some stores on Main Street maybe cater to like women, or there's, you know, a men's section over here, and this store is more seasonal and this store is more high end. They have jewelry over here. They do crystals over here, because I love buying expensive crystals and walking around with them all day when I'm at a Disney theme park. Overall, you kind of know that it's the same shit all over the resort. So if D-Lander is more of the same, that's going to be, I think, a disappointment for a lot of people that were maybe hoping that downtown Disney could be a true curated shopping experience, not just, oh, a 15th location to find the Spirit jersey that's available for this holiday season. And knowing Disney's lead times, because I work inside of this industry, this is something that they would have had to have been planning for over 2 years to have D-Lander equipped with exclusive merchandise. So D-Lander opening up around the holidays, and when this announcement happened, there is a chance that they have been designing for D-Lander for quite some time. So when it launches, it will have a lot of exclusive, maybe catering more to locals type of Disney merchandise. I mean, I don't know. I would love to see Disneyland make more subtle merchandise for people that love it, that don't need rhinestones and bedazzles and a character on everything. Call me crazy, but I like my theme park merchandise to be a little bit more subtle, a little bit more with an insider's tip. So if you're looking for a fun place to shop, maybe over here might be a destination you'd like to go, and in the process, support Hey Bricky and showing up and making 3 quality videos a week with a beautiful Bricky blouse. And then there's also Disney Wonderful World of Sweets, where it's a shame to lose the namesake Marcelines Confections when Marceline is given a shout out to Marceline, Missouri, where the Walt Disney story starts. So we're kind of losing a little bit of heritage and history, but once again, I don't think that modern consumers will care, because the front of this shop looks completely inviting. It looks like the type of place that your kid will completely harass you to go into on your way out of the park, as if they haven't consumed enough sugar already. And I get what Disney's going for here. If you're trying to bring in a more affluent customer, and you're trying to do that with high dining experiences, how convenient would it be to have your own shops surrounding this area, where when people go in there and shop, you are making the highest margin possible? And if you think about it, there was a movie theater that's set in this area, as well as a Starbucks, and also an independent retailer. So the independent retailer wasn't selling much and was probably paying the lowest rent. So that is a huge win, converting that over to make it more profitable. And then you have Starbucks, super busy, but I think maybe the busiest Starbucks in America, or one of the top 10 ones, is the Starbucks that's further downtown Disney. And as somebody who has a crazy Starbucks addiction, I used to stop at both. But I love stopping at the second one, the one that was in this area, because it was normally the least busy. And that's where I would get my rip for the ride home. I love you. But the movie theater, right? The AMC that was there, massive footprint and notoriously very, very tight margins. If you don't know this, movie houses have to give a percentage of ticket sales back to the movie studios. That's why the concessions are so damn high. So Disney's percentage of what they were making off of the movie theater was probably the smallest margin for the biggest footprint, but it created entertainment for the guests. And what I'm getting at here is, it's Disney's property. It's their right to make as much money as possible. I would do the same. But I do worry about the curation for the fan experience. If all the shops have the same merchandise, you kind of lose the shopping atmosphere. And the movie theater represented entertainment inside of downtown Disney. It was so fun to watch a Guardians of the Galaxy movie and then go ride the ride. Something uniquely you could only do in Anaheim at the Disneyland Resort. Will this work? Is this the right step? Who knows? But I think what they need to focus on is making sure that this Avengers shop and this D-Lander shop has very exclusive items that somehow play into making you want to shop in downtown Disney. But then as soon as I say it, I go, but what about inside the paywall of the theme parks? Disney is setting up a very interesting scale on how to manage guest expectations, but also how to make as much money as possible. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens behind the paywall. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with the future of downtown Disney as it grows and scales around whatever's coming next with Disneyland Forward. Are we seeing Main Street USA 2.0 happening outside of the theme parks, where Disney goes, nah, dog, I got this. I want to make all the money. Let me know in the comments below what you think, and let me thank you for showing up and watching today's video. If you'd like to support the channel, grab your very own beautiful Bricky blouse over at Hey Bricky. We got the Vibes Override t-shirts, as well as the Walt 1901 hoodie. And you know what you need on a 105-degree day at Anaheim? A Walt 1901 hoodie. Oh, so warm, so cozy. Thanks for showing up. I'll see you back here next week where we're going to break down Villain's Land like nobody else can from the designer's eye. And by the way, the reason why I always wear sunglasses in the park is I have prosthetic lenses in both of my eyes. And when I'm in an uncontrolled atmosphere, I can't control the way that light goes into my eyes. And sometimes I get a reflection that looks like a cat eye. And in my studio, I have it designed to where there's no lights pointing directly at my face. So therefore, you don't get the weird cat eyes. So sometimes people are very rude about me wearing sunglasses at night. But trust me, I would rather have a few people be rude to me than lots of people going, what is going on with your eyes? Why do you have alien eyeballs? It's because prosthetic lenses in both. Shout out to science, because now I can see.